Hi, we're representatives from the community assistance teams here at the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation. I'm Nick Dimitrazik.
I'm Paul Kucha.
I'm Gabby Smith.
And I'm Mayor Cunningham. Our mission is to help communities throughout the state undertake critical water quality infrastructure projects.
We do this by providing low-cost financing, grants, and expert technical assistance to municipalities in need of drinking water and wastewater infrastructure funding.
Since 1987, we've provided nearly $50 billion in financial assistance to communities throughout New York State, including $3.4 billion in water infrastructure and improvement and intermunicipal grants since 2015.
Aging infrastructure and the growing threat of emerging contaminants pose serious risks to public health and the environment. Created in 2015, the Water Infrastructure Improvement and Intermunicipal Water Infrastructure Grant Programs, also called WIA and IMG, provide dedicated grants for both clean water and drinking water projects. The program helps municipal entities reduce pollution, improve water quality, and modernize treatment plants to meet state and federal water quality standards. Entity eligibility for WIA remains the same whether the funding is for clean water projects, drinking water projects, or emerging contaminant projects. In addition to cities, towns, villages, and counties, eligible entities include town improvement districts, public authorities, public benefit corporations, school districts, and Indian nations or tribes with reservations wholly or partly within New York State.
Grants help communities construct or upgrade municipally owned water infrastructure. To qualify for funding, projects must be for the construction, replacement, or repair of infrastructure, or for upgrades to comply with environmental and public health laws and regulations related to water quality. This can include repairing or upgrading aging plants, boosting nutrient removal systems, tackling sewer overflows, removing lead service lines, or combating PFAS and other emerging threats. Please note, projects must not be exclusively for residential or commercial construction, and construction must not be completed before June 10, 2026. Each clean water project can receive up to $25 million or 25% of its eligible costs. Certain clean water projects serving small, rural, and hardship communities may be eligible for grants of 50% of eligible costs. Please note, new for this round, third-party grants will not be backed out of total eligible project costs. Net eligible project costs are the total project costs less any contingency included in the application.
The program also provides funding for drinking water, lead service line, and emerging contaminant projects. WIA drinking water grants assist communities with upgrades to their distribution mains and expansion of municipally owned public water systems or districts. These grants are up to 70% of costs, up to $5 million. WIA also funds projects that address emerging contaminants above the state maximum contaminant level. These funds can be used for projects combating one or more emerging contaminants, such as PFOA, PFAS, and 1,4-dioxane. Grants for these projects are also up to 70% of costs without a dollar cap. A project undertaking a lead service line or LSL inventory may be awarded 100% of net eligible project costs, up to $2 million. An important note, municipalities that have received Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IJA, LSL inventory funding will not be eligible. Additionally, a project addressing an LSL replacement that has not received IJA LSL replacement funding may be awarded 70% of net eligible project costs, up to $10 million. Please note, for LSL applications, only projects whose entire scope and costs are directly related to the inventory or replacement of lead service lines will be considered an LSL project. If any non-LSL related work is included in the project scope, the project will not be considered an LSL project. If a municipality has both an inventory and a replacement project, separate applications should be submitted. Additional information can be found in the program grant summary.
Projects undertaken jointly by multiple municipalities will be evaluated for our Intermunicipal Water Infrastructure Grant Program. Cooperating municipalities must have a current, valid, and binding project intermunicipal agreement. This must include details related to the financing and implementation of the project. Awards of up to $30 million or 40% of net eligible costs are available. New for this year, you do not need to self-identify as seeking IMG specifically. All submitted applications will be evaluated for both programs. We'll walk through the steps to apply in just a moment, but here's a quick overview of what will be needed. Your application will require an authorizing or bond resolution, a completed engineering report, state environmental quality review or seeker documentation, a state historic preservation office or SHPO determination letter, and, if applicable, documentation for district formation. Depending on your application type, additional documents may be required, especially for projects seeking SRF financing. But note that we will not accept applications without the materials I just listed. Once submitted, EFC and the Department of Health review all applications based on public health and water quality impacts, readiness to proceed, community support, municipal need, and other criteria. Awards are announced following a competitive evaluation process. We'll now walk you through how to complete and submit an application for the WIA IMG program. You can apply to the program using EFC's portal. First, navigate to EFC's homepage at efc.ny.gov and hover over Apply for Grants. Then select Water Infrastructure Improvement and Intermunicipal Grants and scroll down to the Online Application button. This button will open our portal where you can begin the application. Please note that this portal is separate from the Project Listing and Update System, or PLUS, that is used to list projects on the Intended Use Plan, or IUP. Importantly, listing your project on the IUP is not a requirement to submit a WIA application. From here, you can log in using your existing credentials, previously created username and password, register as a new user, reset your password, or resend email confirmation. For Round 11, applications must be submitted by 4 p.m. on Monday, July 27, 2026. Once you've logged in, you will arrive at the portal homepage. On the top of the screen, you will see Announcements from EFC, which will be updated with any pertinent messages. Below is a summary of your applications. The left column shows the number of unsubmitted applications, and the right, submitted applications. You are currently on the home screen. You can navigate through the portal using the buttons located on the left-hand side of the screen. Under the Home button is the Applications tab, which we'll come back to in a moment. Underneath that is the Help tab. On the Help tab, you can download multiple resources, including the portal user manual, the WIA IMG grant application instructions, and the combined WIA SRF financing application instructions. Additionally, you can submit a question or request to have a new municipality added to the system using the box on this page. Now, we'll navigate to the Applications tab, where you'll be greeted with a listing of all the applications you have started or submitted. You can see the application ID, when it was created, the municipality the application is for, the type and program, as well as the project name and description. Above this table is a button where you can create a new application. On the bottom of the page are application actions which will be applied to the pink highlighted application above. With these, you can open an application, validate, submit, delete, print, or extract uploaded documents. On the bottom right of the page, there are buttons to start a new application and for application sharing. If other users will be working on an application you create, you can share an application you have started by selecting the application you wish to share, and then choosing the Application Sharing button located on the bottom right of the page. Once the window appears, choose the Add User button, and then enter the email of the individual you'd like to share with under Username. Note, to share an application, the individual you're sharing with must already have a portal account. When sharing, you can opt to give the user read-only access, which will only allow them to see what is entered in the application. If this box is left unchecked, you will give the user full edit access to the application. Please note, while they'll have the ability to edit, they will not be able to submit the application. Only the user who created the application will be able to submit. To finish sharing, just click the Update button and you will see a pop-up window confirming that it has been shared. Another function of the application sharing window is transferring an application to another user. This is especially useful if an individual will no longer be working on an application. Once an application is shared with the user, You can then select the Transfer button and it will be sent to them. This will give the new person the ability to submit the application. However, you will no longer be able to access, view, or use the application once it has been transferred. To create a new application, you can click the New Application button. When the button is clicked, you'll be prompted to select an applicant. You can use the search bar to type the name or look through the available options. If you are unable to find your municipality, you can submit a request for it to be added under the Help page using the Submit a Question section. Note, for this video, we'll be using a fictitious municipality named Village of Testing. After selecting your entity, select a customer type, either authority, municipality, not-for-profit, private, school district, or state agency. Just a reminder that private and not-for-profit entities are not eligible to apply to the program. Next, you'll be asked to select an application type. To apply for grant only, choose the WIA IMG grant application. To apply for both grant and state revolving fund financing, select Combined WIA/IMG SRF application. If you already have financing with EFC and are now applying for a grant, you will select Combined WIA/IMG SRF application. You will then be prompted to choose either clean water or drinking water. Questions will differ slightly based on which you select. A nice feature of the portal is the ability to copy information from a previous SRF and WIA application to a new application. For example, if you submitted a WIA application in the last round and are submitting a new application for this round, you'll be asked, do you want to copy answers from another application? If you choose yes, you will be asked to select which application you would like to copy from. All matching information from the selected application will be pulled into the new application. This only works for WIA IMG, Combined WIA SRF, and SRF applications. Other types are unable to be copied. Once a new application is started, it will open to the Applicant tab. At the top of the screen, you will see the application type, ID, municipality, and a designation of either CW or DW. Below that are tabs where you can navigate through the applications by selecting each one. Take note of the top right of the page. Here, action buttons are available. The Print button will open a new web page with a printable version of the application. Next, you can use the Validate button to identify errors that will prevent application submission. When clicked, it will open a window with a breakdown of the errors listed by tab, then field, then number, along with a message. This window can be left open while you are correcting errors. A good way to use the Validate button is after completing each tab, as you can confirm that you have not missed anything. Also linked are the application instructions along with the required signature page, which we'll talk about a little later. To make changes, first click the Edit button on the top left of the page. You can then begin to fill out the application. The name of the applicant will be pre-filled. You will need to select the project county and your Unique Entity Identifier, or SAM ID. Once you have completed the section, use the top left button to save. Please note, throughout the application, you will not be allowed to navigate to other tabs until you have saved the section you're working on.
The questions for this tab will differ dependent on if you are applying for a clean water project or a drinking water project. Let's first look at clean water projects. First, click the Edit button, then begin by entering the project name, project description, SRF project number, if relevant, project location, service area, project population, and the latitude and longitude of the location. Next, you are asked to provide the legislative districts for the project area. You are required to submit information for 3 types: New York Assembly, New York Senate, and U.S. Congress. Begin by selecting the Edit button for the first entry, then select Assembly for type. You can then enter the district number. Some projects encompass 2 districts. please enter both and designate one as primary. When you finish the entry, select the Update button, which will populate the office holder name and lock the entry. Continue until you've added details for all Assembly, Senate, and Congressional legislative districts. If you are not sure of the project's legislative districts, you can select the blue link, which will take you to the New York State Board of Elections website. There you will find information for legislative district maps. Next, you will complete information for municipal location and users served. If the project service area includes more than one municipality, list all in the district. Then you'll be asked for SPEEDIE's or State Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit number, SPEEDIE's receiving water body, and POSS or Publicly Owned Sewer System number. Next, you're asked to provide milestone date information for your project. You have an option to select actual or target dates for each of these. Select the Save button to save your entries for this section. For drinking water applications, first click the Edit button, then begin by entering the project name, project description, SRF project number if relevant, project location, service area, project population, and the latitude and longitude of the location. Next, you are asked to provide the legislative districts for the project area. You are required to submit information for 3 types: New York Assembly, New York Senate, and U.S. Congress. Begin by selecting the Edit button for the first entry, then select Assembly for type. You can then enter the district number. Some projects encompass 2 districts. Please enter both and designate one as primary. When you finish the entry, select the Update button, which will populate the office holder name and lock the entry. Continue until you've added details for all Assembly, Senate, and Congressional legislative districts. If you are not sure of the project's legislative districts, you can select the blue link, which will take you to the New York State Board of Elections website. There you will find information for legislative district maps. Next, you will complete information for municipal location and users served. If the project service area includes more than one municipality, list all in the district. Next, please provide PWS or Public Water Supply number. Then you're asked to provide milestone date information for your project. You have an option to select actual or target dates for each of these. Select the Save button to save your entries for this section. Moving to the next tab, you'll be asked for basic information about the project scope. Please note, the section will have different questions depending on if you are filling out a clean water or a drinking water application. Let's first look at clean water applications. You can begin by selecting the Edit button to make changes to the section. The first question asks if the applicant has entered into or is the applicant contemplating entering into any agreements between itself and any other municipality or municipalities or any other entity regarding the sharing of responsibility for ownership, construction, payment, use, operation, or maintenance of the project. If you select yes, you will be asked to list the municipalities, nature of the agreement, and to upload the Intermunicipal Agreement, or IMA. The next question asks if the project includes new or expanded permitted infrastructure or are there anticipated discharge permit revisions. Indicate yes if applicable. You are then asked to describe the community impacts of the project, including public support, community resources served, and economic development impacts. Next, you are asked if the project will benefit a potential environmental justice area, PEJA, or disadvantaged community, DAC. You can use the DEC Info Locator map to identify if the project falls under these categories by clicking the blue link. This will take you to the DEC's website. From here, you'll select Public Involvement and then click Potential Environmental Justice Area and Disadvantaged Communities. You can then search for your project to see if it is included in one of these areas. Next, indicate if the project is identified in any regional planning initiatives, such as a comprehensive plan, regional planning document, waterfront revitalization plan, watershed plan, estuary plan, or DEC 9-element watershed plan. Indicate if the project requires easements or land acquisitions. Then indicate if the project will require the formation of a new sewer district or if one will be extended. The last question asks if the project is identified within an approved asset management plan or capital improvement plan. If yes, please upload it under the Documents tab. Now looking at the drinking water application, you are first asked if any portion of your source, treatment, or distribution system has been compromised or created a situation where the system users were without water. If yes, please explain. You are then asked if the project is required through an enforcement action, such as a DOH violation, DOH and/or EPA consent order, judicial order, or compliance schedule. If yes, please enter the action type, action date, and action reason. Next, indicate if the applicant has entered into or is contemplating entering into any agreement between itself and any other municipality or municipalities or any other entity regarding the sharing of responsibility for ownership, construction, payment, use, operation, or maintenance of the project. If yes, please list the municipalities, nature of the agreement, and upload the Intermunicipal Agreement, or IMA, under the Documents tab. Then, you are asked if the project includes new or expanded permitted infrastructure or are the anticipated discharge permit requirements. You are then asked to describe the community impacts of the project, including public support, community served, and economic development impacts. Next, you are asked if the project will benefit a potential environmental justice area, PEJA, or disadvantaged community, DAC. You can use the DEC Info Locator map to identify if the project falls under these categories by clicking the blue link. This will take you to the DEC's website, and from here, you'll select Public Involvement, and then click Potential Environmental Justice Area and Disadvantaged Communities. You can then search for your project to see if it is included in one of these areas. Next, indicate if the project is identified in any regional planning initiatives, such as a comprehensive plan, regional planning document, waterfront revitalization plan, watershed plan, estuary plan, or DEC 9-element watershed plan. You are then asked if the project requires easements or land acquisitions. Then, indicate if the project will require the formation of a new water district or if one will be extended. Indicate if the project is identified in an approved asset management plan or capital improvement plan. If yes, please upload it under the Documents tab. The next section asks questions relevant to lead service line inventory and replacement projects. As a reminder, only projects whose entire scope and cost are directly related to the inventory or replacement of lead service lines will be considered an LSL project. If any non-LSL related work is included in the project scope, it will not be considered an LSL project. Additionally, LSL projects are not required to submit State Historic Preservation Office review documentation or State Environmental Quality Review documentation. First, indicate if the project is a lead service line inventory project. Next, indicate if the project is a lead service line replacement project. If a municipality has both an inventory and a replacement project, separate projects should be submitted. If yes is entered for both of these questions, you will receive a validation error and will be prevented from submitting. Then enter the population of the service or project area and indicate if the project is addressing an active lead action level exceedance. Finally, indicate if the project is listed on the DOH's IUP for Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act lead service line IJA LSL funding. If yes, please enter the project number.
New for grant-only applications is the Project Permits and Approvals tab. Please review the list of permits fully. Indicate each that is required, the status, the date applied, and the date approved. On the bottom of the page, you can add additional permits where required. For additional information on the required approvals, please see the application instructions. After you complete the Permits tab, you will need to complete the Contacts tab. Here, you are asked to provide information on all individuals involved in the project. For elected officials, please include their full legal name and the date that the term of office expires. This is commonly missed, so please double check. You'll also need to add a contact for each role listed in the Contacts tab. A financial advisor only needs to be included if applicable for the project. An additional optional contact field is available if needed for additional people. First, click on the Edit button, and then begin by filling in the information for the Chief Executive Officer or highest elected official. When you finish entering information, be sure to click the Save button. If you have any individuals repeated on the contact list, there is an option to copy from another contact that has been filled out. Note that each contact should be filled out independently. It is very important to double check all of the information on this page before submitting your application, since any errors may cause delays. This is especially important for emails, as they will be used for award notification. Now we'll look at the Budget tab. The first section asks for construction contracts to be added. This is for anticipated or actual contract information. Information added here will sum all contract amounts entered and populate the total in the Budget section below under Contract Total. Please note, you're required to enter at least one contract in order to populate the construction costs. Begin by clicking on the Add Contract button under Construction Contracts. First, select the contract type, including electrical, general, HVAC, mechanical, plumbing, or other. If construction contracts have not been acquired, enter TBD for contract number and contractor name. For contractor amount, please provide a current estimated cost in dollars. To pass validation, the contract amount must be greater than $0. You are then asked to enter dates for plans and specs, awards bid, construction start, placed in service, or substantial completion, and construction end. Please fill out each and mark them actual or target. To elaborate, all costs pertaining to your project must be based on information acquired in the last 6 months. This will help minimize the effects of any changes in construction costs. Once you've added contracts, complete the total project budget section below. The next section is Other Funding. Here, you must identify all sources of funding that will be used to pay project costs not covered by the grant being applied for. Please provide as much detail as possible for the source of funds in the plan of finance, and ensure that award letters are uploaded. Please note, projects that are not using State Revolving Fund financial assistance for the balance of the project will not be added to the State Revolving Fund intended use plan, and must demonstrate how the project will be funded and show that it will be funded with low-cost financial assistance similar to SRF financial assistance. When you're ready to add other funding, begin on clicking Add Line. Then enter the funding source, a description, the date it was approved, and the amount it was approved for. Finally, click Update to save the entry. The next section asks you to identify your MWBE officer. This is the individual at your municipality who will be responsible for ensuring compliance with your MWBE, service disabled veteran-owned business, and equal employment opportunity requirements. If you're unsure who should fill this role, or if you need guidance on their responsibilities, a document with full instructions will be provided by your EFC Program Compliance Specialist once one has been assigned to your project. In this section, you'll enter the contact information for your MWBE officer as well as an authorized alternate, or someone who can act on their behalf if needed. When you're ready, click the Edit button and then fill in all relevant information, making sure to include any middle initials where applicable. Once everything looks good, click the Save button to finalize. Projects applying for a WIA or IMG grant are subject to the State Smart Growth Public Infrastructure Policy Act. To comply with the Smart Growth Act, applicants must complete all questions under this section. If a question does not apply to your project, please choose Not Applicable. For additional details on this section, please see the application instructions. When you're ready to start the form, click the Edit button. When finished, click on the Save button. We are now at the Acknowledgements tab, where there are statements regarding your responsibilities under state and federal programs. Please note, this tab will be different depending on the type of application that you are submitting. The first two statements are included on all applications. Please be sure to read each fully before clicking the Acknowledge button. For additional details on the Federal Requirements Acknowledgement, please refer to the current IUP. This includes additional details regarding your responsibilities under these programs. For grant-only applications, you must also acknowledge the SRF Financial Assistance Acknowledgement. This indicates that the applicant will be prepared to fund the balance of the project with funding similarly low cost to SRF financial assistance. By clicking the Acknowledge button, you are affirming compliance with these state and federal requirements and that you are authorized to make this acknowledgement on behalf of the applicant. Once you've read each statement and acknowledged the responsibilities, make sure to click on the Acknowledge button. Please note that this button cannot be reversed, so make sure to only click it when you're ready to accept. The next section provides a location to submit required documents for the application. The upper box lists which documents are required for your application type. The left column shows if it has been uploaded yet. To upload a document, begin by using the drop-down button and selecting the type. You then have the option to enter a description. Next, choose the Select Files button and upload the document. You can also drag and drop a file from a file browser. Please note, a list of acceptable file types is provided and the maximum allowable size is 50 megabytes. If file sizes exceed this limit, you can use the Submit Large Documents service on our website. If you use this service, please upload a document stating as such in lieu of. If any of the required documents are unavailable, the application will not be accepted. Once a document is uploaded, it will appear in the Uploaded Document section towards the bottom of the page. You will see the document type, name, description if provided, uploaded date, and who it was uploaded by. As discussed before, you can also submit a combined WIA and State Revolving Fund application. The first 5 application tabs will be the same: Applicant, Details, Project, Permits, and Contacts. The Work Plan, Smart Growth, and Documents tabs will also be the same. We'll now focus on the tabs that differ between applications. Let's first look at the Budget tab. On this tab, the first 2 sections are identical as for a grant-only application. For combined applications, there is an additional section, C, that asks you to identify other sources of funding. To add a source, click Add Line. Then click on the drop-down menu and select the source of funding. Next, enter the approval date, the amount, and indicate if it was pre-financed with SRF short-term financing. Please note, pre-financing only applies to funding through the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, Empire State Development Grants Program, New York State Economic Development Assistance Program Grant, State and Municipal Facilities Grants, USDA Rural Development Loan, and Water Quality Improvement Project Grant. When finished, click on the Update button and repeat for any additional funding sources. The Project Debt Issuance Information tab is only for combined applications. Here you are asked if any debt has been issued for the project. You are then asked if SRF financing will be used to refinance an existing ban. Section 3 asks you to enter debt issuances if any have been issued for the project. To add debt, you must first click the Save button on the top of the page. Then you can select the Add Debt button to create a new entry. Fill out all relevant information, including the question, is it a ban or bond, the date issue, the call date, the maturity date, the principal issued, the project amount issued, the principal outstanding, and the project amount outstanding. Once that information is filled out, select Save at the top of the section. You can then add relevant payments by selecting the Add Payment button. The Finance tab is also only for combined applications. Questions in this tab should be answered for the municipal entity and not specific to the project. The first question asks you to enter the last year for which an annual financial report was filed. Next, indicate if you have undergone an audit by the Office of the State Comptroller or another state or federal regulatory agency within the past 3 years. If your answer is yes, please explain. Then indicate if there is an adopted fund balance policy. If yes, please upload the policy under the Documents tab. The last question asks for economic and financial data for your entity. Begin by saving the rest of the page. You can then add information on the largest employers. First, select the Add Employer button, then enter the employer name, the type of business, and the estimated number of employees. Select Update to save the entry and add additional ones. Next, you are asked to enter the largest real property taxpayers. Select Add Taxpayer, then enter the taxpayer name, the type of business, and the taxable assessed value. Select the Update button to save the entry and add additional. Following largest taxpayers, you are asked to enter the taxable and total assessed value within the municipality. Select Edit to allow entries, then fill out the chart. The last section asks if the applicant's county guarantees real property taxes. If no, please describe the current real property tax levy and collection procedures. For example, the calendar for the tax levy, penalty rates, and enforcement, including foreclosure procedures. The Indebtedness tab is also specific to combined applications. The first question is regarding litigation. Please indicate if there is any litigation threatened or existing that would affect the project or substantially impair the applicant's ability to pay debt service on its indebtedness. If yes, please include a brief summary and its current status. The second question is regarding the constitutional debt limit of the applicant. Please fill out the section fully. Your Chief Financial Officer can assist with the information required here. The next two tabs, Work Plan and Smart Growth, are the same on both combined applications and grant-only applications. Please review where these were covered earlier in the walkthrough video. The next tab includes statements regarding your responsibilities under state and federal programs. Please be sure to read each fully before clicking the Acknowledge button. By clicking the Acknowledge button, you are affirming compliance with these state and federal requirements and that you are authorized to make this acknowledgement on behalf of the applicant. Once you've read each statement and acknowledge the responsibilities associated with each, make sure to click on the Acknowledge button. Please note that the Acknowledge button cannot be reversed, so make sure to only click on it when you're ready to accept. The last statement requires you to acknowledge that to receive financial assistance through the State Revolving Fund, certain federal requirements must be met and appropriate language must be included in all contracts. The next section provides a location to submit required documents for the application. The upper box lists which documents are required for your application type. The left column shows if it has been uploaded yet. To upload a document, begin by using the drop-down button and selecting the type. You then have the option to enter a description. Next, choose the Select Files button and upload the document. You can also drag and drop a file from the file browser. Please note, a list of acceptable file types is provided, and the maximum allowable size is 50 megabytes. If file sizes exceed the limit, You can use the Submit Large Document service on our website. If you use the service, please upload a document stating as such in lieu of. If any of the required documents are unavailable, the application will not be accepted. Once a document is uploaded, it will appear in the Uploaded Documents section towards the bottom of the page. You will see the document type, name, description if provided, uploaded date, and who it was uploaded by. Once you've completed all sections, you are ready to submit the application. To do this, click the Applications button on the left of the portal. Then select the application you would like to submit. It will turn pink. We recommend clicking the Validate button once more before you hit Submit to see if any required fields have not been completed. If your application does not pass validation, you will not be able to submit. You can then choose the Submit button at the bottom of the page. Here you will be prompted to upload the signature page, which can be downloaded from the Help section. The signature page must be signed by the individual within the authorizing resolution. Then, lastly, click Submit and you will receive a confirmation message.